Welcome to the Hare and Dog Bar at Town Hall Theater. I am Zach Shivers, the box office manager. I am joined today by 7 Days Daisy Award winner for Best Vermont Comic, Tina Friml, whose show is coming up Saturday, January 10th. Thank you so much for joining me, Tina.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for getting the first round of
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. Um, so you've really had an amazing last few years. Been on the Tonight Show twice. You've been on the Drew Barrymore Show. Your stand-up has been featured on Comedy Central several times. You also perform a lot of town hall theater. We've been really lucky because you're from Middlebury.
Yeah, not only am I from Middlebury, but my mom was the box office manager here for a number of years, 12 or 13 years. So I always say that I just about literally grew up in this theater. So any reason to come back and haunt haunt the hallways like a phantom.
Did you have any idea did you have dreams that now you might be performing on the stage or that you might do comedy? Or when, if not, sort of when did the idea of becoming a performer, performing stand-up, how did that path sort of arrive?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I always growing up, I wanted to be a performer, mainly an actor and a singer.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, ever since I could remember, it was that typical like I'm a star. Um, but particularly because I have cerebral palsy, it made it very hard to have that kind of dream come to reality. I mean that's just how it is. That is a fact of life. But comedy happened accidentally. It was that I kind of all the dreams I grew up in the theater and wanting to kind of be on that stage. I kind of put that all aside and I went to college for journalism, and which I loved. But after college, you have this free fall period that I'm sure everyone knows
Yeah.
about. That whether you're looking for a job or you kind of don't really know what to do with
Yeah.
your life, and um, out of an act of desperation, I I joined a stand-up comedy class at the Vermont Comedy Club. So,
Wow.
um, it was kind of immediate. Like I began to do it, and people would pull me aside and say, "Okay, what you're doing, keep doing it. There's something here." So I never really, to be honest, I'd never really gotten that external encouragement. So I mean, and I loved it so much. So um I always told myself that, well, comedy, it will just be a train that I ride until it stops. And so far it hasn't.
A long train ride.
Exactly. And now way more expensive.
When you're performing here, like you're about to do on January 10th, do you adapt your material, or what's special or different about a Vermont Middlebury Town Hall Theater show versus what you might do at the Comedy Cellar in New York?
It's so funny. So I'm bringing a showcase. So I'm bringing some of my absolute favorite comedians from New York. And I mean, the show is called Big Apple Comics, and that's what it is. When Lisa and I first began this show, the other year, it used to be every summer, and we were a little bit curious about how New York comics would play in Vermont. But we were so surprised how well people just love that New York comedy. And for me, what I realized was people that live here that have college connections or whatever, they grew up or they spent their 20s in New York City. They get it. An amazing comedian I brought the other year named Napoleon Emile, he came and he grew up in Brooklyn and talked about, the drug dealers at the bodegas in Brooklyn, and people just loved it. I mean, he's an incredible comedian, so it was easy to love, but people connected with it. So I we took that and ran, and every year I bring just the best talent in this city, and to bring it back to my roots and my hometown is spectacular.
So tell me a little bit about that process. Of course, you put not only do you perform, but you also bring a lot of comics. So
Yes.
what is involved in curating the show?
I always look for comics who they really tell their story. They're not simply anecdotal comedians. The kind of comedy that I relate to is um someone who they they bring their background and they bring how they came out about to be the kind of people who they are. And the brilliance of their comedy is even if you cannot relate at all to their upbringing or their day-to-day life, they put you in their shoes. You get to look at the world through their point of view and all the awkward and all the contradictions, and ultimately that's really always what I look for when I curate um a lineup and different voices on top of that.
Yeah. For people who have not seen you on stage before or have not been to one of your shows that you put together at Tunnel Theater, what should they expect? How what are you hoping for them and how that experience will go and how they'll be changed by from when they came in to when they leave?
Well, I always tell people who maybe don't go to comedy shows, it's not like theater. We want you to laugh. The energy that you give us, we will give back to you. So the more uproarious you are, the more generous you are with your reactions to what we're saying, the better show that you're going to get.
Mhm.
Um, I I always lovingly call more tepid audiences a theater crowd because yeah, they're enjoying it. In my years, I've had plenty of times that the crowd enjoyed it and they come up after and they love it and they're raving. But in the moment, they're very quiet. They're not boisterous. They're not laughing, and it makes it only harder for the comedians.
Mm.
Stand-up comedy is an act of immediate external validation. That's what it's all about. It's all about getting an audible reaction.
Yeah.
So, um, I always tell people, get loose, get a drink if you drink, or
Right.
bring your good friends that like you can get a little bit real with,
Yeah.
and you can laugh at some real stuff with, and just let it go.
So take me from you take this comedy class and then you end up on Jimmy Fallon. What was that like? How did you end up on the Tonight Show?
So it's actually so funny that you say that because um I it was probably the craziest thing to ever happen. So about 2 years ago, I'm living in New York. I'm working at the Comedy Cellar, and that night I actually happened to have my mom and dad up here from Middlebury. They came down to New York because I just had like a breakup and my world was crumbling at the seams. But I needed my own personal pity party. and but I had a show that night at the cellar, so they came and they sat in the room and waited for my turn to get on stage. And while I was queuing up, I was the next comedian, and I looked to my left, and Jimmy Fallon is standing right there watching the show,
Whoa.
from the back, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've always been a fan, and he crazy he starts talking to me, and even crazier than that, we hit it off, because he's from upstate New York and, you know, very conversational. I think we're both just immediately batting it back and forth, um, and I say "This is great, but I'm so sorry, Jimmy, I gotta go on stage." He's like, "Oh, go kill it." Um, and I get up there, and I'm obviously nervous because I know he's in the other room
Right.
hearing whatever reaction I'm going to get. But I do my best. I start, like, really crushing, really, like, working the crowd. And then right in the middle of it, I see that he had come and sat in the middle of the room, and he is now watching my show and laughing and
Wow.
loving it. And uh,
So he
uh
wasn't being a theater crowd.
no, he Jimmy Fallon is a good comic audience member. Okay, remember that. He talks the talk. Um, and after I got off, he after the show, he had to leave, um, but but, you know, gave me a hug and said, "Oh, that was good," you know how he is. Hallelujah. And it was amazing. And, the next day, I get a call from my manager being like, "The Comedy Cellar and The Tonight Show are on the phone." Like,
What?
they're
The
asking.
next day.
The next day. Yeah, they're on the phone. Uh, it was she said the Tonight Show called the Comedy Cellar to find out who you were.
Oh,
So, yeah, it was complete serendipity, and then 2 weeks after that, I'm on the show.
wow. What a way to get over a breakup. That's pretty incredible.
I know the universe has a way.
Yeah, the way.
Like, you're going to be okay. You'll be fine.
So, like, you got on this train and you are speeding somewhere. As these incredible opportunities appear, how does it affect your writing process? Like, do you feel that you have to change your jokes as you have bigger, more national platforms, or how do you deal with this attention?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I got on the train. I began comedy, and I got really established here in Vermont and in the bigger comedy industry behind the scenes. A lot of companies knew who I was. And I was doing all this introductory comedy about my disability. And then I began to go more into just who I was outside of having cerebral palsy. But then something happened about 3 years ago that I began posting online, and it just immediately went viral. And I kind of had this I had almost backwards trodden moment of, okay, now I need to go back and introduce myself all over again.
Yeah.
It was um jokes that I've been telling for 4 years that were now finding a huge audience and a whole new appreciation. And it was a really fun time because I had this backlog of about an hour of really solid jokes about who I am, hi, I'm here, I'm disabled. And people in real time were loving it and seeing it unfold. So now um I am I am challenged to where do I go from here? Um I I want to evolve a little bit more to establish myself as a more well-rounded
Hmm.
comedian, I think. And I do that in a bit of a meta way in that, I say on stage, I know I have all these jokes about being disabled, but like it really is the most interesting thing about me. I'm not a very interesting person otherwise. And then I go into like all these ways that I've been trying to force being an interesting, unique person,
Right.
and like hobbies and like getting into the underground scene in New York and um that's been fun to kind of let that cook for the last year. But writing a whole new hour right now,
Wow.
it's yeah, it really kind of now it feels like, okay, I have a whole table of people and I'm in the kitchen. And I know when I bring something out, I have people to see it. So, for better or worse, it puts a fire under my butt to really explore more content.
Yeah. Will we see some of this new hour on January 10th?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, that's the thing that I love about coming back here. I really can. Uh, I feel welcome, and I feel like I can bring different sides of who I am and try stuff out
Yeah.
and try out, new concepts, new ideas, and be met with love. Hopefully.
Yeah. No, that's it's be such an honor to be able to be that place for you, to be like your hometown theater where you can just come and try stuff out.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, that's always having that in your back pocket is as an artist who works in the real time like I am is unbelievably helpful to me to have a home space like this.
Yeah.
I'm so excited